You know what, Michael? I think it's a goddamn travesty, Michael. It's a goddamn travesty that last week was the Snyder Cut, and I didn't have my favorite complaining about the Snyder Cut co-host with me to complain about the Snyder Cut. I had a very reasonable Bryce who was like, I don't even know if I'm going to watch this, and I'm like, were you not compelled? Are you not compelled by hatred to watch all 4 hours of the Snyder Cut?
I think it was a good thing I wasn't, because then that would have just been the entire podcast.
Yeah. I don't know. I've got very complicated feelings. It took me like a week to work through them all, like in the Discord, and I had to see a therapist. I had to talk about a lot of stuff. But you know what? I'm better now. So welcome back, everybody, to the new and improved post Jeff complaining about the Snyder Cut Rage Select podcast here on Rage Select. And I'm Jeff, and I will not stop complaining about the Snyder Cut. I don't give a fuck.
And I'm Mike, and I may continue talking shit about the Snyder Cut.
You know what? Like, we haven't done one in a long time because, like, you know, there hasn't been any movies for a year. But I kind of feel like when things calm down, I just need you to come over here and sit on my couch, and I'm just going to hit the record button, and we're not going to take any notes. We're not going to have any structure or anything. It's going to be like, and another thing. It's going to be like 2.5 hours. It's going to be 4 hours long. I'm going to put it 4x3, black and white. I'm going to restore all of the things that get cut out. I'm just kidding. We don't cut anything out of the Rage Select podcast, but
it's true, we don't.
Yeah, but you know what? I found the cure for my Snyder Cut woes, Michael. And it's called rewatching all of My Hero Academia, like in a week, like going through like 4 seasons of that show in like 7 days to get ready for the big premiere. And so, you know, I don't want to talk about Superman dressed up in black. I want to talk about All Might and how that goofy motherfucker is like one of the best Superman / Captain America / just like, I don't know, goofy anime guy. He's such an interesting character, and I kind of love him.
I think he's a fusion of Superman and the Tick is a good way of explaining who he is.
Okay.
Because he's just so fucking goofy, and I love everything about him.
He's almost like a parody deconstruction of Superman, except that like he's still so Superman that you can't just help but be like, yay! And he's got his theme and everything when he comes out. It's just like, yay!
He's got a catchphrase and everything.
Yep.
I'm like, man, I love this guy. And I love everything about him and everything he represents. Just the weird shit he'll do.
I love that his one of his iconic phrases is just like, I am here. Like, it's me, guys. It's All Might. You know All Might, right? Everybody loves All Might.
Everyone loves that guy. Yeah, I just, man, My Hero Academia, I'm so excited for the rest of the season, or the new season that's coming up. And they just announced, that the current manga run is starting its final chapter areas. Final, like, time frame. So we're not sure if it's going to be the end of the whole thing in general, or if it's going to be like Naruto, where there's going to be a time skip or something. But I'm excited as hell.
Yeah. It's funny because I looked up, I was just looking for like the release date of season 5. No, I was just making sure that it was going to be on Crunchyroll because I fucking hate the Funimation app. All the subtitles are too small. And I saw that my favorite guy is coming back. God, what the hell is his name?
I have no idea how long I wanted to tell you that, but you were like, don't tell me nothing.
Don't tell me nothing.
I want to tell you something.
And they just had like the splash page, and like, guy, if you talk to him, he can make you do anything is coming back. And I like binging back through My Hero Academia, and I'm just like, why didn't they why isn't this guy in Class A? This guy could have taken down the biggest bad guy in this universe by just being like, what are you, stupid? He's like, I'm not stupid. He's like, kill yourself. And then just like, hey, we're done. We're done, everybody.
Yeah, the entirety of like most of the arcs would just be like him asking them something and then being like, so just die now.
Right.
Just kill yourself.
Right.
And then that would be the end of every story. Like the entire Yakuza part would have been like, yeah, you're just going to let her go.
Yeah.
That's the end of it.
Yeah, just go get in the police van.
You're done.
Go get in the police. Go to jail. Go to jail. Go directly to jail. Yeah.
Exactly.
So would you say, are you more excited about that or about the Invincible starting up this week?
Fuck. That's a good point. I'm really excited about Invincible, but only because it's the beginning points of Invincible.
Mm-hmm.
because the point though, where it's in My Hero Academia, where it's going to be at right now, it's going to like quick like trailer stuff is that it's a training thing between Class 1A and Class 1B, and that's really exciting still because I really like that little plot because everything in My Hero Academia is exciting as hell.
Yeah.
Like no matter what it is, like Deku needs to go buy rope, and then it turns into some insane shit that lasts like episodes. I love everything about it.
There was a whole episode that just focused around like picking out your superhero name. It was like, yeah, this is charming and amazing, and I love it. Yeah, go fuck yourself.
There's a whole episode of taking care of children, and I loved every minute of it. But yeah, Invincible. I'm really, really excited for Invincible though, because that's something I've wanted more, like in any other form besides comics, since I first started reading it, and that was like a decade ago. And damn, that thing, like everyone was talking about The Walking Dead for so long, whereas like you guys aren't talking about the superior and like comic book that he wrote, which was Invincible. Because fuck The Walking Dead, Invincible is where it at.
Yeah, and then also, did you watch the first episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier? We're just awash in hero shit right now.
I actually haven't been able to yet, because this is gonna sound really like petty and broke ass, but the Disney Plus sign-in that I had, they canceled, so I don't have Disney Plus at the moment.
Oh,
so getting Disney Plus back.
We need to get you a login for Disney Plus. Yeah.
So I haven't seen it yet, but I'm planning to, because I'm supposed to review it for one of us, so that makes it even worse. Because there's that, and then something else is coming out this weekend called The Irregulars.
Okay.
That apparently is something on Netflix that I'm supposed to review.
Oh, it's a Sherlock Holmes thing, right?
Yeah, those paranormal investigator things kind of thing. I'm actually pretty interested to see how that plays out too. But this weekend, and I'm debating whether or not I'm going to buy Monster Hunter or not.
Yeah. Yeah, when are you going to play Monster Hunter in between all this nonsense?
I don't know. It's insane.
Yeah. Well, I'm just happy that there's all this stuff coming out and it's all happening. You know what? I was going to say, the Falcon and Winter Soldier was like, okay. Like, it definitely is much more down to earth. Like it's obviously less fanciful than WandaVision, right? It's like,
well, that's the thing, is that I still don't know what happened in it.
Yeah.
And that's interesting, because with WandaVision, like within an hour, I knew like half of what happened if I went on Twitter.
Yeah. It was like, there's literally a plot point in the first episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier where the Human Torch was denied a bank loan. So, like, it's not exactly like going to be blowing up Twitter with like, can you believe? So I don't.
That's true. I've seen a few memes, but they're all out of context. So I don't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
But it's a good time. All this stuff has started, because Superman and Lois just went in hiatus till May. So I'm like, oh, thank God, I have all this other stuff.
What? Wait, no, hold on. How dare you get me hooked on the first like good Superman property that I've seen in like a decade, and it's on hiatus. I just watched the first 2 episodes and I was like, I'm going to bank up a whole season of this. Now you're saying I got to wait? I don't want to wait. I'm American and it's 2021 and I don't want to wait for shit.
Yeah, they went in hiatus after episode 5, which was this week, and so because of COVID and fucking up their filming, so they have to film some stuff. In the meantime, Supergirl's final season is going to take that time slot for now.
Son of a bitch. Well, before we get into the news, have you been doing anything interesting over the last week, Michael? Outside of actually, I don't know anything about what you've been doing for the last week. So, have you done anything in the last week of noteworthiness?
I played the entire Hawkeye Avengers stuff, as well as having the PS5 version of Avengers, essentially.
Did you get stuck in a cave for 10 minutes? And
no, but I laughed really hard as that happened, because I was watching it, and you're like, you who are screaming at me. I'm like, yes, that's me right now, who's telling you get out of the fucking cave.
I was screaming at me, and when I was editing the footage, I was just like, God damn it.
The entire time, I was just watching you, like, is it here? Is it here? I'm like, leave the cave. Leave the goddamn cave.
Yeah.
And then I love that there's a comment like in that one where they're like, hey, it's pretty short. They could probably, and Jeff's stuck in a cave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Well, I actually, maybe briefly, because we've got a lot of news to get through, but like, how did you feel about the fact that it's like the second DLC character was like another Hawkeye with a lot of very similar mechanics to Kate Bishop. Because I was kind of like, guys, you kind of like cheated on this. This is kind of a Smash Brothers palette swap of Kate. I mean, he's not exactly the same. Like his traversal's different, his specials are different,
exactly the same.
but they're similar in that they have, their range characters. They have the little 3 different arrow types, which, some of them, and they've got the kind of like the same, like, I don't know, hold down the triangle button to shoot a different type of arrow. It's not exactly the same, but it's like 60% the same, which is kind of, in my opinion, it was a little underwhelming because we've been waiting so long for any new content for this game. And then what we got, it was like, here's Kate Bishop. Oh, that's pretty cool. Here's Hawkeye. Oh, this is kind of Kate Bishop 2.0, kind of. I don't know.
I think it comes down to the fact that these characters were supposed to both be out around the same time last year. And I think what it comes down to is that the devs just are not able to keep up with people yelling at them about bugs and more content, and also try to make content at the same time and fix these bugs. And because there's constantly a new bug, like every week, there's rarely ever a time where somebody doesn't bring up something that is a bug on their subreddit. Like the subreddit is like 90% people telling the devs to go fuck themselves.
Okay.
Which I think is, but they're still talking about, which I think is hysterical, because they're like, I'm never going to play this game again, and then you'll see them the next day and be like, this is my problem with the fact that I'm still playing this game. It's like, fucking make up your mind, people. And so I'm kind of in the middle where I'm like, look, I get what's going on. The devs just aren't able to do what they want with how far spread out they are at the moment, and you can kind of tell with some of it because you're right. They're like Hawkeyes are very similar in the fact that it's like these guys probably were supposed to come out around the same time. There probably weren't supposed to be as many gaps in between Kate and then his stuff, but they didn't have time to finish making maybe the landscape, maybe the Maestro, maybe even the Old Man Hawkeye outfit, as well as a few other things that they've added since then, like the replayability, making sure bugs, that are happening, making sure that it works on the PS5 to begin with.
Right.
Like, it's like, shit, you guys are...
it's like there's
spread thin.
There's too many. They're trying to do too many things at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to ask you a question, and I apologize if the whole Maestro thing is spoilers for anybody, but I don't think anybody
it's
really.
On the trailer. It's on
the cover. I put it in the thumbnail. Yeah, I know. My big question is the Maestro fight, because you would know this and I wouldn't. Is the Maestro fight just like an altered version of the Abomination fight?
It's not, luckily, but it's not that much more insane.
Okay.
It's a lot of bum rushing, as well as like hitting the ground and then like stuff falling out of the sky. And he grabs you, I think, was the other thing. But for the most part, since I was Hawkeye, I just stood in the distance and shot him a bunch of times.
Right.
And then like I had like my Hulk fighting him, and my only issue with the new DLC is that there's not a lot of lines between Hawkeye and everybody else other than Kate. Like in the entire story mode, like none of the other Avengers outside of Kate say anything the entire time.
Not to linger too long on this, but just because you didn't get a chance to talk about it last week, how do you feel about the Wakanda DLC introduction? And then how do you feel about the fact that we got the news that it's probably not going to be until after that Spider-Man finally drops for the PlayStation version of the game?
I think it's a good sign, actually, and the fact that it means that they're not just going to give up on the game.
Okay,
because a lot of people were worried that they were just going to be like, "Here's Spider-Man," and then just end everything. Because they're like, well, maybe it's a contractual thing. Maybe they'll because they announced him and they're like, oh, he's supposed to be out early 2021. And early 2021 is coming up, kind of thing. And so everybody's like, well, where's Spider-Man? And so they figured it was a contractual thing, and they're like, well, they're just going to drop him, and then they're going to be like, we're done, we're wiping our hands out, and then walking away. And then they came out with the roadmap, and then they said that. So it's just like, look, you guys, we haven't given up on this game. We're trying to make this thing, but we just don't have the manpower to make this thing work. And it just comes down to the fact that, like, COVID really fucked everything for everybody.
It really did. It so did. Like I even think a lot of times that that we don't understand quite how fucked a lot of these places are, just in the fact that working off-site, working from home, like I feel like a lot of people have jobs where it's like working from home makes sense. You were just doing kind of some moderate day-to-day stuff, and like whether you were going to a location or doing it from your house, that's not a big deal. Like instead of going to a meeting room, you do having a Zoom meeting, that's fine. But I feel like this sort of thing, like collaborative software development could really get fucked by not being in the same proximity to be able to coordinate in person, quickly express things, like clarify things, having that just the distance that you get off of a Zoom meeting as opposed to being in person with somebody. I think it probably has fucked a lot up in a lot of games. And I don't know, a lot
of people just don't notice. Like there was the DLC for Kakarot, for instance. That thing took forever to come out for these 2 very small packs. Like it's the same with the Avengers, where it wasn't a lot, but it still took like almost half a year for each one.
Yeah.
And so people were like, well, what are you guys up to? He's like, well, it's because they're not next to each other. Like if COVID hadn't happened, I guarantee you those DLCs all would have been out by now.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually, here's my thing. Here's my crystal ball that I want to know the answer to is like, if COVID hadn't happened, would the Anthem reboot have been completed? Or was like the resource drain that happened like in the middle of trying to do a sketchy, hard, weird thing anyway, and then having everybody have to do this shit from home, having the whip crack come down from BioWare and from EA on like the new Dragon Age, the new we gotta get a trailer for the new Mass Effect, we gotta get Star Wars Squadrons out the door, whether like these resources stuff came to a thing where the resources, you needed to put more resources on to have the same dev amounts that you had before, and then suddenly it just didn't make any sense. Like if we're going to, like, maybe once COVID is done, we can get the teams back together to do this Anthem next thing. That's probably going to happen in the back half of 2021, and we've already wasted like, what has it been, like 2 years just trying to figure out if we can make this a thing,
Yeah, absolutely. And they just gave up. They're like, look, we're still trying to make these other games. It's better just to let them work on that instead.
Yeah,
that's probably what's going on. And we're going to see more and more stuff like that very soon.
Well, speaking of reworking video games that didn't come out to the greatest of applause, we skipped a week, or maybe a couple weeks, but I tell you what, let's talk about Cyberpunk 2077!
Yeah, the game that took all the pressure off of Avengers, to be honest.
So we got news this week that Cyberpunk 2077 is coming out with the 1.2 patch kind of at the end of this week. It'll probably be out by the time you hear this.
Wait, it's still like barely 1.2?
Yes. And okay, I don't know how much you got a chance to look at all this stuff, Michael, before we started, but like they made, and I don't think I even sent you this webpage, CD Projekt Red made this whole blog post that was like a fake news report about the things that are going to be fixed in this patch. So, for example, I'll read a little bit of this. Like, NCPD Quick Response Team, too quick. You heard it right. The NCPD Quick Response Team is under fire from concerned night citizens and corporations alike. The rapid deployment tactics they recently adopted force mercenaries to think twice before pointing a gun at anyone, but will now be adjusted to give the other side some breathing room. What was supposed to make night citizens feel safe on the streets resulted in a staggering drop of public trust toward NCPD officers. Here's a quote. My chum Jake was in a shootout with Tiger Claws the other day when he missed a shot and hit a pedestrian on the other side of the street. In an instant, the NCPD swarmed up on him and put him down. It's like they appeared out of thin air right behind his back. It's too brutal of a response for a regular accidental murder, if you ask me. Mike from Kabuki 28. So it's like they wrote this fucking blog post to make these patch notes like seem like they're things that are known about in the world of Cyberpunk 2077. Now, would you like to?
I want to meet the guy they hired to write all that stuff. By the way,
I'm actually pretty impressed with this. Like, but then they have these 4 videos about the patch. Now, Michael, would you like to know the actual 4 things that are getting fixed in this patch?
Sure.
Okay. 1, the police are not going to just appear in the air and then bum rush you as soon as you commit a crime in Night City. So, like, they will appear in the distance and have to converge on you, kind of like Grand Theft Auto, instead of just literally popping up around the corner, running in and starting to shoot you. Okay? That, I'm like, okay, that's something that's definitely a problem. The rest of this, though, is stupid. Like, the steering on the cars is better. Like, you can literally, there's a slider now that you can adjust the sensitivity so that, when you like, here, I should show you the video. When you turn a car and when you turn a car in a video game and like there's too much torque on it, the car will like kind of wobble a little bit. Like, you know, like in real life, if you turned a car too quickly, like the back end suspension would kind of like keep going, right? There would be physics on the car. Well, now you can adjust that so that you could drive the cars a lot more like just like burnout cars, like you see over here, instead of like having the shaking happen on the cars. Okay. There's now an option where you can turn off like double tap to dodge roll, which like seems to me to be the sort of thing that would, I don't know, be included in the game's control options by default. Like,
Jesus.
And then the other thing is that there's this whole thing that says the ability to get your crashed car unstuck. So like, I'm not going to show you the video because it appears to be crashing my browser when I do that. But like when you know, in a video game, when you like are driving, you've got a car in a video game and you're driving and you like pop a curb or something, right? So like the front wheel drive wheels are off the ground. So your car can't get traction. So you know how like in like Grand Theft Auto fixed this a bunch of years ago, where you could just like push the left stick in a direction, it would kind of like rock your car a little bit, like you were moving around inside of it to kind of rock it back and forth so that you could get traction, so you could get off of whatever that thing is and keep driving your car instead of having to get out and get a new car. This is that option that wasn't already in Cyberpunk 2077.
Jesus Christ.
So yeah, I'm not exactly, well, you know what? I think that what
roadmap make the game work.
I think that what this says, to be honest, is like, we know that this game was rushed, but this game was fucking rushed. Like, these are not fixes. These are not like, when I drink a crafting potion in Skyrim, when I drink an enhancement potion and then make a crafting potion that I can craft like a number dagger that breaks the Skyrim engine. This isn't that. This is like, this shit should have been in the game by default. And the fact that it has taken until March of 2021 to fix this, like, I didn't actually realize this, but when I was reading the blog post, or I was reading some news about this, do you know that the PlayStation version is still delisted from the PlayStation Store?
Oh shit, is it really?
Yeah, they haven't fixed the previous gen versions to run in a way that like the publishers feel like, or the platform holders feel like, or Sony feels like should be, you know, included in the store. So
did they ever finish the next gen one?
Oh God, no. That's on the roadmap for like later this year.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Like right now the roadmap is the 1.2 patch is supposed to be out, and it'll probably be out, like I said, by the time this comes out. And then like there's just this big hashed area on their roadmap that says multiple updates and improvements. And in the middle, towards the middle of the year, there's one that says free DLCs, and then towards the end of the year is free next gen console update. That's it. That's it right now. Like,
that was the most anticipated game for a very long time, guys. This is the state of it.
I actually love Cyberpunk 2077 because like we've had a variety of different huge AAA debacle games that have come out, you know, like Star Wars Battlefront, No Man's Sky, you know.
Yeah.
So, but this takes the fucking cake, because this is like, I mean, this shit was just so broken that the idea that somebody actually hit the switch to make it go live is ridiculous. Like the fact that they actually allowed it to sell out. If they had just put out the PC version, I think that would have been okay. But the fact that you could buy the Xbox or PlayStation version is kind of ridiculous. But
there's a new What Happened about it, and I haven't seen it yet.
It basically boils down to like the you know, you get into the situation where the management is trying to get this out. Management needs to get this thing out. And and like kind of there were probably people there that understood how bad things were, but that it was probably one of those situations where like management was like, no, it's fine. We'll patch it. Like, it doesn't, because the people that were controlling that, in my opinion, they didn't understand how broken it was. They were under the impression it was like, well, the game's got bugs, right? But QA is always bugging us because there's bugs in the game. Like, those guys always want to delay the launch because, like, if you holster your weapon 3 times, then you can't take screenshots anymore. Like, no, we're going gold. We've been certified. Put it out. We'll fix it in a day 1 patch, and then they just, and then shit like you can't get your car unstuck wasn't implemented properly in the game at that point. So
that's so fucking crazy, because at least with Fallout 76, everything that they fucked up was more from like
conceptual,
a social thing when it came to like how they dealt with their customers and like decisions they made outside of the game itself for the most part, because the game had bugs, but it kind of ran. And so people didn't like talk shit mostly about that. They talked shit about more that there was nothing to do in it, and that they kept getting fucked over in everything else.
Right. It wasn't like fundamentally broken on a fundamental level. So, well, speaking of Fallout, we've got some Microsoft news now that Bethesda and Microsoft they're all the same. Microsoft is doing some rebranding. Xbox Live is now going to be known as the Xbox Network.
That's dumb.
Because, apparently because they don't want people. They want to distinguish the underlying service from Xbox Live Gold memberships, which is stupid, because Xbox Live Gold is what you buy when you want Xbox Live. I don't get it.
I'm totally confused. What does that mean?
I don't know. That's what they said. Apparently, they said, let's see if I can find a direct thing here. Xbox Network refers to the underlying Xbox Online service, which was updated in the Microsoft Service Agreement. The update from Xbox Live to Xbox Network is intended to distinguish the underlying service from Xbox Live Gold memberships.
I think I know what they're saying, only because of the free-to-play thing.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing that makes sense to me, is the idea that now they want it to be like, well, this is just you being able to play online, maybe using the free-to-play, because I know they finally backtracked on that.
Yeah.
And so the Xbox Live thing is on top of that. I don't know. That's the only thing that makes sense to me, because other than that, it's stupid.
It does make a certain amount of sense in that I never thought about it that way, but that does make sense, because one of the other stories that we have is that what you just said is in their Xbox Insider program, is that they're doing the testing for the lifting the Live Gold paywall for like free to play games. So like if you want to play Fortnite, you don't have to have gold anymore to do that.
Okay.
So the idea,
that was a huge issue with Microsoft for a long time.
Yeah.
For just everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember you used to have gold to watch Netflix on it.
Yep. That was, I actually didn't realize that it had been so long, but apparently that lifted in 2014.
Oh, wow. Feels like just yesterday that happened.
Yeah, but I guess that makes a certain amount of sense. It's if you're playing on the Xbox Network, you're not playing on Xbox Live, because you don't have to have Xbox Live in order to play on the Xbox Network anymore.
Yeah, that's the only thing that makes sense to me.
It's still stupid. It makes sense, but it's stupid. It makes stupid sense. It's stupid sense. So yeah,
it's for the children, Jeff.
I don't. We're all
the children.
Michael, you've been in this game. You've been in the game for a long time. Has any fucking person with a brain in their head ever not been able to distinguish between Xbox Live and having Xbox Live Gold? Like, you need.
I don't think so. Yeah,
it's not like
there used to be a silver one back in the day,
right? It's not like the Nintendo. It's not like the Wii U. Microsoft. We all understood the difference between them. Like, it's fine, but. You know what? They wanted.
Why still call it gold then? Yeah, because they don't even have the silver as far as I know anymore.
Yeah, why not just call it Xbox Live, right? You buy Xbox Live to play on the Xbox Network. The other thing that's weird to me, though, is that it's also Xbox Network, and network is not. It has no uppercase. Network is lowercase. So.
What?
I don't.
Why? Never mind. I'm just gonna. I
don't know. This smacks to me of some kind of like fucking marketing branding person being like, people would get confused, and it's like, no, gamers are smart. You just don't tell me, marketing guy, what I need to know. Well, I don't know, but maybe the marketing guys are going to have a lot more to do at Microsoft soon, because apparently Discord is looking to sell for somewhere in the range of $10 billion. And according to Bloomberg, Microsoft is in the front runner to purchase them. Microsoft is on a goddamn spending spree, man. Like
Absolutely.
Microsoft got their monthly credit card limit upped, and they just decided to fucking go to Walmart and like not stop until their card was declined, man. Like
Absolutely.
they just got their stimulus check.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the memes that have been coming out of this. Like, why buy Discord? You can just download it for free.
Well, it actually, to me, it makes a certain amount of sense because it would like, it would like if they consolidated Discord, if Discord was like the brand, it was like the thing that handled Xbox network traffic and messages, right? Like, because Xbox is expanding, it kind of makes a certain amount of sense if you think about the Xbox brand expanding from being a console to being like a service. And so if Discord is packaged in with that service, like people already know Discord is like a communications device. Plus Discord would be a way for people like say between like phones and the PC and Xbox and then, the actual Xbox hardware to all communicate under like one kind of unified thing that was differentiated in name. Plus Discord also has like Discord Nitro. And I didn't know this, but apparently Discord is one of those companies that's been like, that is, what's the word for this? Unprofitable. They're one of those.
Oh, okay.
There was one of those companies that have been like trying to make a profit for years, and they're still not really turning a profit because the only service they really offer is Discord Nitro. And from the expression that you just made, I don't think you even know what Discord Nitro is.
I have no idea what Disco Nitro is. Is it like, I accidentally said Disco? Discord Nitro. I don't know what that is.
It allows you to, it gives you a higher bit rate for the like live streaming that you can do over it. You get like more emojis. You can upload bigger files. It's really the reason why my webcam looks great. No, it's really it's basically just like the premium version of Discord. Like there's a really basic kind of hamstrung version of Discord that works fine for 99.999% of people, but like you might want Discord Nitro for something, and they charge, I think it's like $10 a month or $100 a year. Here, I'll bring it up because I actually bought it because of the COVID streaming that we've been doing. Like I wanted to be able to make sure that we that when I'm streaming the games to y'all when I'm doing Remoto, that I'm getting the highest bit rate possible. So better emojis, a personal profile, you get server boosts that you can like if this is like cheers, I guess, maybe for servers. You get a badge, you can get bigger uploads, and then you can screen share HD video.
Oh, okay.
And stuff.
That's neat.
So, yeah. There's also Nitro Classic, which is $5 a month, which is all the chat perks, but without the server boost.
Okay.
So, I don't know. I could see if like Discord got folded into Microsoft's ecosystem, that might be maybe very good for them because they wouldn't have to worry about being profitable. Because apparently somebody at Microsoft said, we don't give a shit if you turn a profit, just like make this thing bigger. Like make Xbox bigger.
Yeah, they're going for it. They're just buying everything.
Yep. Yeah, I think I talked with you about it, but like I need to do the math on like the big game publishers and see just like with Bethesda and Double Fine and Obsidian and all the rest of those guys, like how much of what we consider to be like the bread and butter game industry is now Microsoft, because it's a lot.
Yeah, they spent the GDP of a small country getting all these things.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah. What else is crazy is that Nier Automata is getting review bombed on Steam. Now, this actually is a good thing, in my opinion, because last week, or a few weeks ago, or sometime very shortly, Nier Automata came to Xbox Game Pass. So, and it was Game Pass on the PC. So people installed the Game Pass on the PC version, and they were like, oh, this is a really good edition of Nier Automata. Now, what you may not know, because you and I play mostly consoles, is that the PC version of Nier Automata was one of those things where Square put it out. It was janky. It was bad. The frame rate was garbage. It was like all fucked up. They had to do a bunch of user patches to fix it, and Square has never patched it to this day.
Oh my God.
So now suddenly on Xbox Game Pass, there's like a better version of this game that is not analogous to the Steam version. So this is out of a VG247 article. Q-Lock, the developer behind the Game Pass version, confirmed that it is a new version. It's based on the Become as Gods edition, not the Game of Yorha edition, and that apparently they did a bunch of fixes at the request of Platinum Games, including support for Fidelity FX, HDR, 4K upscale UI, and textures. And honestly, that's a good reason to review bomb something on Steam, man. That's
absolutely
fucked up. So
that's super fucked up, actually.
Yeah, especially considering Square Enix's track record of putting out like bad PC ports of games and then just never coming back to do anything with them. There's still not a good version of Final Fantasy VI. You know, Final Fantasy VI on the PC is like the weird phone version, and it sucks.
Oh, did not know that.
I think that I don't even know. You might not even be able to turn off, you know, that thing when they do old pixel games and old pixel based games, and they do that weird filter where it tries to turn the pixel lines into regular lines and it looks really disgusting and gross. I think that this game is locked into that weird line style.
That thing.
You just can't use the original sprites. I don't know. It's been a while since I've looked at it, which sucks. Also, it's got the big buttons from the phone version about attacking and equipping and stuff.
Jesus Christ.
It's just fuck's sake, man.
That's pretty bad.
Yep. All right. Speaking of Steam and the PC, last week Steam just straight up said, and I know this because I've actually been following this closely, that Super Seducer 3 will not be sold on Steam under any circumstances. So, Michael, Amanda and I had a really great time playing Super Seducer 1 and 2 because they're stupid fucking games. And they're
absolutely stupid.
This guy, Richard La Ruina, he's a slimy jerkbag, and I don't agree with his life, right? But I think it was fun to play his stupid games and see, and he catered to that with the whole, you could try to do something absolutely ridiculous and then they film it and it's oh, that's wrong and stuff. But he was supposed to be putting out Super Seducer 3 on March 19th. And apparently they just kept submitting it and Steam was no. And then they would be well, will you tell us what the problem is so we can fix it? And they were no. And then eventually they just straight up banned it. Here's the response that he posted on Twitter from Steam. Hey, Rich, we have finished reviewing your latest build, and we aren't going to be able to ship Super Seducer 3 on Steam. As we have mentioned previously, Steam does not ship sexually explicit images of real people. After multiple products resubmissions and product reviews, we feel we are at an impasse, and therefore this decision is final. We do not have any additional feedback or details to share beyond what we have provided to previous conversations. And then he talks about because he paid the fee to get it on Steam, they're going to refund that, but that you can't do it. And then he wrote them back, and their response I think was interesting. It's Richard, we are not going to sell the game or re-review it because you paid the Steam ID. We're going to refund it. But we're not the thing is that he was trying very much to go to Steam and be why won't you put this on Steam? Now, you would think that what Steam is objecting to is that there's hardcore pornography in Super Seducer 3. But what there is this dumb scene of him laying in a bed and all these scantily clad women around him. In the very first Super Seducer game, when you got something right, it would cut to him laying in bed and there'd be these two scantily clad women. If you got it right, the scantily clad women would be like, ooh, like doing their sexiness, and he would tell you why you were right. And if you got it wrong, they would cut back to it, and the ladies would just be like filing their nails, and they're not interested, and boo, and he'd tell you why you're wrong about your stupid pick. You didn't do the pickup artist right. Now in the second game, Michael, I love Super Seducer. In the second game,
yeah, no, you clearly do.
I thought it was better because he had a lady co-host that was also just like a relationship person. And whenever you did something bad, when you did something good, there was like this weird throne in a warehouse that he was sitting on, or like this thing he was sitting at with this lady, and they would talk and they'd banter about, here's why you did it right. But when you did it wrong, it would cut back to the same scene, and there'd be like these two huge dudes like beating up Richard LaRuina in a dusty warehouse while he explained to you what you did wrong. And I was like, this is great. I love this. Like there's no downside. So I've actually been looking at, apparently, like he tried to resubmit like a censored version of this, and what it is people at home can imagine. We've got like a whole, Michael, you can tell them if I'm lying. It's just like a bedroom full of women in lingerie, just kind of standing around, looking vacant and putting their butts up towards the camera, and like it's stupid. Now
it's not really all that much. Yeah,
the censored version. Let me see if I can show you an example of this. Is like, because they didn't know what was wrong, what they did in the censored version is put these giant blurs just over any part of the women that could be considered offensive, and so you get these weird scenes where it's just like the same scene but just giant blurred out, like not like they put a mosaic over the lady, but like a giant circle that makes it honestly look worse. It looks like something really terrible is happening.
Yeah, it makes it like that much more like it makes your imagination come up with something way more pornographic.
Yeah. Now I don't want to sit here and defend Super Seducer. Like look at this one, Michael. It's just the entire screen is blurred out except for a circle where Richard LaRuina is sitting.
Oh my god.
Okay, so I don't want to like white knight for Super Seducer. I'll use their pickup artist terms for this. I don't want a white knight for Super Seducer. But Michael, the idea that Steam is like, we do not sell sexually explicit content of real people. Because
it's the of real people that gets me.
Because I have played fully pornographic anime games on Steam. Like not even close. Like I played Lust in the Darkness, the Cthulhu fuck game with Tessa. I played Honey Pop 3, where like if you get it right, it's just a picture of two ladies just fully exposed, like wide open to the camera with juice flying out. And I'm like, okay, Steam, look, like you lost the ability to take the fucking moral high ground on this shit when you started letting the anime porno, when you started publishing Bloody Boobs and Lust in the Darkness and fucking Honey Pop and like a million sexually explicit. It used to be you buy
so much insane shit.
Yeah, it used to you buy a sexy game on Steam. And then you would have to like go to a company's website to download the patch to get all the titties, right? Like, the titties aren't there by default, but you can go download this patch and there come the titties. But like, if I type the word hentai into Steam, I am going to get
the first one was hentai versus furries. That was the first thing that came up.
Yeah. What? 542 indie games, 477 casual games. Like they're hentai versus furries, blush, hentai. I don't even know. Nico waifus, hentai weed puzzles. Like half of these games, Michael, are just like. They're just like sliding block puzzles or like puzzles. Yeah. And at the end you get a kind of weird low poly anime hentai picture, and it's just like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about?
They're not real though, apparently.
This game came out last week called Succubus Farm. Like this is a store. I looked at this because I watched the dumbass. I watched the dumb sex games for Amanda and I to play something, and like this is a game where your guy is being milked sexually by succubuses in hell, and you're trying to get away, and oh no, the succubus has caught you, and now you've got to get fucked by them. Like, come on, Steam. All I'm saying,
like, what the fuck,
is that this ain't it, Chief. Like.
This is family friendly, though, Jeff. Kids could watch this.
There's a tag on Steam called sexual content. It's just sexual content. Like it's dating, and here's VTubers.
Oh, the Yakuza's in there, though.
well, they have the hostess clubs, right? You know, that's sexual content.
That's true. I'm not saying it's wrong. I just think it's funny in the sea of like hentai listings, Yakuza just pops up.
Here's a match 3 where when you match 3, you get like fucking sex scenes with. So anyway, like I said, I'm not trying to like say that Super Seducer is a very important game, but like, fuck you, Steam. Yeah. You open the porno gates. You should just have porno. Also, there's totally already games with actual nudity on Steam. So,
oh, absolutely, it's everywhere.
Yeah. Speaking of dumb shit, let's talk about Australia. So, hey, Australia, I apologize for calling. I'm not calling you dumb, but you guys need to fucking overthrow your government and like I don't know, because you know how the Australian government is shitty about video games, how like
absolutely
they decided that video games are like a threat to the moral fabric. So Disco Elysium is on Steam. Disco Elysium was sold on Steam in Australia because Australia doesn't like classify games that are on Steam. But because Disco Elysium, the like enhanced edition or whatever, the final cut or whatever is coming out next week, and it's going to be sold on consoles, like in stores, it had to get a classification. And Australia has refused to classify it because, let's see if I can find the full quote. Final Cut was refused classification on the grounds the game was found to quote, depict, express, or otherwise deal with matters of sex, drug misuse, or addiction, crime, cruelty, violence, or revolting or aberrant phenomena in a way that offended, quote, against the standards of morality, decency, and propriety generally accepted by reasonable adults. Michael, have you ever played Disco Elysium before?
No, I've seen like stuff from it.
Yeah. So first off, you're a murder detective trying to solve a murder. So like, you know, that happens. Yeah. And then you're also like trying to grapple with how bad of a person you are because of your addiction to like drugs and alcohol and cigarettes and stuff. And like, so there's like, it's not gratuitous. It's not like this game is like, look, drinking is rad. Like you literally have to wake up and grapple with the fact that you trashed your hotel room and everybody hates you. You like lost your gun in a bender and all that shit. So
Jesus Christ.
This is so stupid. This is so
Australia
stupid.
really wants to like do the exact opposite of why they are a country to begin with.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
They desperately don't want people to remember that, so they just go way harder in the other direction.
The big thing here, the two things that kind of stand out to me is one, they have an R18 plus classification that's for like adult games that should not be sold to minors.
Yeah.
So like, why not that? And then second, it's a great example of what happens. And I'm going to go out a little bit on the limb here, but it's a great example of what happens when you get into this whole like, we must protect the children from video games, because the thing is that Australia doesn't ban, like, I'm sure that you could see John Wick in Australia, right? Like you can watch movies where people are blasting each other. It's just that for some reason
the original,
yeah,
well, I was just gonna say the original version of Taken was rated R in Australia. We are the ones who got the PG-13 one.
Yeah. So it's just because it's laws written when this whole like, well, actually, there might be something else going on, because this is not directly video game related, but I saw this other thing about this guy. There's this government official in Australia that has a bunch of fucking like anime figurines and shit in his office. Like he's got like Scarlett Johansson from Ghost in the Shell and like like Joker with Harley Quinn and like Witchblade or some shit like that. And apparently, like somebody complained about this, and they have this commission. I'm not going into it. I'm not going into this whole thing, but there's this thing called ComCare, which is a government body that oversees the work and health and safety for the Commonwealth. And they found that this guy having the anime figures in his office didn't violate their work and safety laws, but they, quote, considered the display of figurines to be a psychological hazard. So...
Jesus Christ.
What the fuck, Australia? What's going on? Like he's got a Vampirella figure, and like that's like a psychological. This guy doesn't work. He doesn't like work in front of the general public. He's got like an office in a government building somewhere, and it's not like children are going to wander in and get scandalized by the Harley Quinn statue he's got in his fucking office. What do you mean a psychological hazard? This is fucking groupthink bullshit. You can't. Anyway,
that's so dumb.
This is why I liked it in America. I don't know. People get all sassy about video games and shit, but then you can still buy fucking Hentai Hero on Steam. Like Josh Hawley could be out there being like, loot boxes are making our children stupid, but it's like you can still buy fucking full pornography on Steam every day of the week if you fucking care. So
that's fucking crazy.
Yeah. Speaking of things that are absolutely crazy, Agent 47 is going to have hair, Michael. Not in the game.
But why, though?
Not in the game. Not in the game. Actually, it was interesting. I first read this and I was like, what? Rabble. But they're making this Hitman TV series for Hulu that was announced in 2017 that was the guy behind John Wick was supposed to be making, speaking of John Wick. So they talked a little bit about how they're giving him hair in this TV series, not in the game, but in the TV series. And from the sound of it, it sounds like, I mean, you know, if you're familiar with Hitman, I don't think this is a big thing. And if you're not familiar with Hitman, I doubt you're even listening to this podcast. But it sounds like what they want to do is have this guy be an assassin. And then, like, one day he shaves his head and sees there's a fucking barcode on the back of it. And he's like, what? Why is there a fucking barcode on my back of my head? And that like kind of leads into the whole like what Hitman is, as opposed to just being the soulless murder machine that Agent 47 is in the games, which I can understand, because making a TV series about the character that's actually Agent 47 in the game would be really weird. Like, it would be a stretch.
No, yeah, no, I get that. It would be like Quantum Leap, except with more murder.
Right. Well, no, Dr. Sam Beckett has a hell of a personality. It would be like, I don't know, it would be like Matt.
No, I don't mean like in that. I mean like that he has to pretend to be each person.
Oh, right.
But only to murder more people.
Right. Now I just want Sam Beckett to jump into Agent 47's body. Oh boy, I want to hear the Hitman guy do it. Like, oh boy, just do that.
He's like, what am I supposed to do here? And he pops up, says, you got to go murder that lady over there.
Yeah. Okay. Ziggy says you got to knock that guy out and then strip him naked and then put his clothes on and be like, I guess I'm never gonna leap home, Sam. Just you
got to kill that guy with the fish. That's what you got to do.
Right. You got to throw a fish at somebody. Yeah. Well, you know what? Throwing a fish at somebody is not as ridiculous as apparently what IO Interactive has in store for us, because they put out an announcement trailer for kind of what the next thing for Hitman is going to be, and it is going to be a series of challenges based on the 7 deadly sins. Now, this is a little weird to me. Like, the first trailer is for what is it? Greed. And it's got 47 dressed up in this like gold suit. He's got like a gold cane and these gold like coins. And there's just like a very much like this gold kind of film all over it. And it sounds like this is a much more like, so like, I don't know how familiar you are, Michael, but like, you know, you have the main story missions, you have some remix story missions, you have the escalations, which are just like plotting against like like you have to kill a certain person a certain way, right? The closest thing I can think of to this is like when the clown outfit came out, there was a challenge where you had to shoot a bunch of balloons without anybody seeing you. But like,
okay,
it looks like this is like very surreal. Like what you're seeing in the trailer, it looks like the music video that they made for that one mission. It's really weird. Like even in the voiceover, they're talking about how like, God, you missed the old days when everything wasn't so personal. And so they're showing like the Dubai map, which already had some like gold, a lot of gold in it, with some kind of remixing going on. What do you think? I assume this is the first time you're seeing this. What are you thinking as you watch this?
It's just gold as hell. Like I don't really know what's happening. It's just like it's like watching that part in Goldmember where he's just like surrounded by gold.
Yeah,
he's just like,
I love gold.
Damn, he's gonna have a gold dick later too.
Yeah, and so, but here's the weird thing about this is apparently like. So they put out Hitman 3. Hitman 3 had what they were called premium escalations that were part of the pre-order bonus, right? Because they I think they're saying that they're not going to be putting out like extra levels for Hitman 3. And considering that Hitman 3 only has like 5 levels, that's a little strange. Then so they did the premium escalations, but then they're also doing like live events. Like this month, there's an Easter egg hunt in the Berlin map where you have to find a bunch of Easter eggs. And so it looks like they're really doing a lot more like work on the existing maps. But they talked about how there's going to be obviously 7 of these, one for each deadly sin. The first one comes out on March 30th. They're going to be $5 a piece or like $30 for all 7 packs. Now, considering that these are like, even this is just weird because I don't think I've seen them really do anything like this before. Outside of there was a couple of Game of the Year things. There was the there was like a side mission that they put together that was like 4 of the levels from Hitman 1 remixed to be this new mission chain. But this is very different because it looks like they're very much changing the map up, and then it's just got a very surreal feel to it. Like it doesn't feel like realistic. So I don't know. I'm not sure how this is going to go. I mean, I'm going to buy it.
I'm not sure either.
Don't get me wrong. I'm going to buy it all. I'm buying it. Like I'll buy anything they put out.
No, I gotcha.
But yeah, it's very odd. Let's see. Speaking of very odd, we got some odd news today that the new Nintendo Switch that they're going to be putting out might be, or I think it actually will be, using, this is from Bloomberg, and they've been pretty good recently. Man, Bloomberg has really just blown up as a video game news source ever since Schreier went over there. That the new Switch is going to be using Nvidia's DLSS, deep learning super sampling tech to achieve their 4K with reduced hardware. So for anybody that doesn't know, DLSS was basically a dedicated AI chip that's built into the current generation of NVIDIA 30 series cards that you saw the video, right, where they ran like Death Stranding in 480, and then it like tactically up-resed it based on the pixels that would like interpolate what was supposed to be around it to make a sharper 4K image.
A lot of modders use them to like up-res like, old PS1 games and stuff.
Right. And there's a lot of software that'll do it, but like this DLSS is basically, it was NVIDIA's answer to how do you make something run at 4K 60 FPS with ray tracing on like a PC, because doing all of those things at the same time would start to really tax things. And the answer is you come up with a way to turn like 1440p into 4K by interpolating the pixels between the pixels. And I think it does a really good job, like from the demos that I've seen.
Does.
And it's a really smart way for Nintendo to do this, right? Because it means that you can do things that you don't have to have the raw processing power to render them. You just have to have this dedicated processor that does nothing but look at like pixel A and pixel B and then put a pixel between the two of them. Which, the more I find, like, we've seen a lot of this stuff with Microsoft doing like doing the frame rate boost on older games, which I assume is just like a second rendering pass that goes on top of the first one. Like a lot of this tech I feel like is out there, but I think this is really, really, really interesting. Michael, what do you think? I've been yammering on for a while now.
No, I think it's really interesting too, because Nintendo doesn't have the raw power to make everything look as 4K or even like 1080 sometimes kind of thing. but this would definitely level that playing field without having to make it a bigger console.
Right.
And I think that's what's really the most fascinating thing about it, is that they're not trying to make giant switches that are the sizes of current consoles. They're just going for what they've already made and just trying to make it better. And I think that's a great.
Yeah. It also, I mean, I think it's interesting just to think of the implications for like not just the Switch, but for all mobile gaming, right? As DLSS means that you don't have to have as powerful of hardware running because you can interpolate it through this thing to upgrade it. I know that last time I talked about this with Bryce, he doesn't like this at all. He's like, I don't like the idea that we're watching some AI fever dream and not like the actual pixels that the developer once rendered, that we're watching this interpolation of the game, not like the actual thing. Which I can see.
I can see that.
I could see it. My main thing though is just like I never got into the nitty-gritty of kind of like resolution and pixel counting. So like, if this allows me to run something in VR at a higher frame rate, like I'm all for it. If it allows me to run, the main thing is if I can tell the difference, right? If I can tell the difference between using DLSS or rendering like native, then there's maybe a problem there. But if I can't tell the difference, then like bring it on, man. Because if this means that I can have something the size of a Switch that eventually has, every game running at 4K 60 FPS with fucking ray trace lighting on it, bring it, Nintendo. I will buy it.
Yeah, that's actually really exciting, especially with the new Zelda.
Yeah,
that could look fucking fantastic.
Yeah, not only that, but like with a lot of the I love the precedent that we're seeing of just like using hardware on the Xbox Series X to just like go back and make previous gen games look better. Like I like the idea that you could have an updated Switch that could make Breath of the Wild look better, like the original Breath of the Wild look better than it did before, just through some hardware sampling and stuff. And last but not least, I think before we take a break here, Monster Hunter is coming out. Michael, I don't know if you saw this, but apparently, one of the big things in Japan is that sometimes when a very, very big game comes out, a company will just like let their employees have the day it comes out off. I think that like Dragon Quest, whenever there's a new Dragon Quest, they're just like, all right, everybody fucking stay home. Like, we know you're all going to call in sick anyway, so just fucking stay home and play Dragon Quest. Yeah. But employees at the Tokyo-based VR studio Mark-On apparently been told by their executive, Jack Masaki, that on Friday they get a 3-day weekend because fucking Monster Hunter's coming out, so having a Monster Hunter holiday, so everybody can have a nice 3-day weekend to play Monster Hunter. Hey, America, do you want to maybe give us some days off to play? I mean, like, I don't need days off because playing video games is my job. So I need the opposite of this, actually. I need like a day off from playing video games to I don't know, like work at a company. That doesn't make any fucking sense. Jeff, what are you talking about?
No, it doesn't. Yeah, I have a coworker who took the day off tomorrow specifically for Monster Hunter.
And you didn't?
Well, I had forgot. I also had to take time off because I used up a lot of it because of my moving date. So that's where most of it's going towards.
I see. Well, with that, we are going to go ahead and take a break. But when we come back, we're going to have more news. But honestly, Michael, I'm looking at the tabs I got open here. I think we're going to have time for at least a question or two. So
probably
y'all want to stick around. Here, a question or two. Just a minute. Michael, it's time to get spooky-ish. I don't know. Is the Resident Evil franchise
March Madness? Is
it spooky? Is Resident Evil spooky?
It can be. Resident Evil 7 is scary as hell.
Yeah, I guess it is. I don't know. In any case, last week it was like the 25th anniversary of Resident Evil, and they sent me an email to say like, "Hey, we're having a new showcase." So our last Resident Evil showcase was, I believe it was April. So anyway, April, we are going to be having another Resident Evil showcase. We don't really know that much about it yet, like whether it's going to be more RE8, more of that weird online dumb multiplayer game, or whether it's going to have like, we've heard about like a Resident Evil 4 remake that's in the works. Or
about the movie.
The movie, yeah, we'll probably see some stuff about the movie, or maybe something completely different. So, yeah, mark your calendars. April. April's going to be some Resident Evil. We're also getting an open beta in April. So, April 7th, we're getting an open beta for the Resident Evil RE-verse, which is that aforementioned dumb-looking weird shooter thing. I didn't realize this. Apparently, the whole thing is that it's like a death match, but then if you kill somebody, then they come back as like one of the zombies, either Nemesis, Jack, or like what's the third thing? Like Mr. X. And then they can like go around and power up and then try to kill the people what killed them. And it's like, I just don't think this franchise is a shooter franchise, Michael. Like,
no, I get it. Yeah.
Like it's not. It's like a atmospheric survival game, not like a.
Like I get the horde mode stuff, but not like versus stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never really understood it, but I don't know. You can get in on there. It's going to be April 7th until April 10th. Who knows? If I remember, maybe we'll do a video for it, as long as that's not like on the. I think the last one of these was like the Guilty Gear beta, and it was like right on the weekend. It was like Friday to Monday, and then they turned it off. So, yeah, I don't know. Speaking of download stuff, you won't be able to download PlayStation 3, PlayStation Vita, or PSP games anymore starting in July for the PS3 and PSP, and then the Vita store closing on August 27th. This is pretty stupid, in my opinion. I don't get it. Like
it's not a very good thing. Like it's actually kind of a terrible thing.
Yeah, I mean, like you'll still be able to get anything that you've purchased previously, but like I don't feel like. I mean, every so often I'll go to the PlayStation 3 store and just be like, you can still buy some stuff here, and I'll buy something on the PS3. I don't get the impression that it's like, do you really have to turn it off? Like you're already maintaining store pages for like the PS4 and the PS5, so why not just leave the PS3 store up? I mean, somebody wants
to get them PlayStation Now subscribers.
I guess maybe that is what it is, but I don't know. I might actually have to go and go on like a spending spree on the PS3 store, because like I'm mostly, this is the reason to say this, Michael. People don't remember that like there are a shitload of PS2 games that you could just straight up play on the PS3, and you can buy them on the PS3 store. Like when I played the PS1 version of Nemesis, or PS1 version of Nemesis with Tony for the Asylum a few years back, like that was just on my PlayStation 3. Like they had the Fatal Frame is on there, Siren is on there.
Of PS1 games on there, like MGS1 is on there. It's all the original Crash Bandicoot games. Like there's a lot on there, and that's why it's a shame that it's happening. Although I can't help but laugh because this feels like somebody dug up the Vita and then shot it again and then started repairing it again.
Well, yeah. Actually, the Vita TV apparently is a really good device for playing some of those. You can play Persona 4 Golden right on your TV using a Vita TV. Apparently, also the Vita TV was really easy to jailbreak and mod.
I'm not surprised at all.
So, yeah. Let's see. In other PlayStation news, we got news last week that an organization called Project Deluge, or an operation called Project Deluge, like has archived like 700 game demos and prototypes from the PS2 era online. This is from the video game preservation community Hidden Palace, that uploaded more than 700 game demos and prototype files from the PS2 era over the weekend. And it's like a lot of really interesting stuff. All those freaking demo discs that came out, and like weird demo versions that were kind of slightly different from the final release versions. And
most of them were done by one person apparently.
Yep.
Just crazy as hell.
Mm-hmm. I really wish that the game industry itself would take. I wish that like all the game companies would come together as like in a gesture of goodwill to like make some of this archive stuff like official instead of making it all like the stuff that has to be done by outside sources or hackers or various piracy groups. Like, not that I don't have any problem with game piracy really, but
well, the reason why we can't is because, or the reason I've never had any issues with game piracy is purely because of stuff not just like this, but our last story.
Yeah,
is that like it's so much more difficult to play classic games more and more as time goes on.
Yep, and I'm looking right at you, Nintendo. You're the worst offender.
Half of my Super Nintendo games I can't play outside of my Super Nintendo and ROMs, and that's it.
Yep. Speaking of old ass video games, we got another trailer for Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade. Did you get a chance to watch this trailer, Michael?
I did not.
This is just, I mean, basically it's just kind of what we've already seen, but going into more detail about the PS5 version, showing, direct examples of like the lighting. I think it's actually kind of interesting the way that, like the place that we've come to where, you could see a difference, but it's not night and day, right? It's not like
like his hair is a little darker on the left on one point. That's about it.
Like it really comes into focus in some of the scenes that have a lot of lighting, or like when projectiles have lighting, that the lighting gets like the dynamic lighting, the ray trace lighting gets added to characters, and so there's like better lighting on faces and stuff whenever there's there's that part in Final Fantasy VII where you're up by the big sun collectors, right? And like that's really impressive. There's like parts where they've got those enhanced fog textures that look really nice. It looks better. Like, don't get me wrong.
Absolutely.
It looks better. It's just not exactly like, oh my God, like, wow, this makes the previous version look like shit. And it doesn't really make the previous version look like shit.
It's the same issue, or it's not the same issue. It's the issue that we've been having in this generation, is that it's really hard to tell the difference unless you really have that sort of 4K TV,
right?
That will definitely show you that difference.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, you don't really notice it as much as you would between the PS3 and the PS4.
All it does is make 4K ray trace look regular, and then it just makes every other game look like dog shit when you play it. You're like, fuck. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, obviously, this is great. Like, I think, but you know what? Like, I'm gonna go back. I'm not gonna talk any shit about Final Fantasy VII. You guys have all heard that before. It's not a big deal. But what I'm gonna say is that like this is really great. I still think that from here on out, Michael, I'm just going to be waiting for this to be for the complete package, right? At some point, there's going to be the full version of Final Fantasy VII, and I'm sure that over the course, I mean, we've seen with the Intergrade, with the Yuffie stuff, like there's going to be more content added, right? So it's like, I just want to play it. I don't want to play Final Fantasy VII over and over again. I want to play it one time when it's all done. Maybe I'll try to go back and play it. Like even this one, they added in the turn-based normal mode, right? Instead of turn-based in the classic easy mode. And like, they added in I don't know why everybody gets so fucking jazzed up for photo modes. Like,
photo modes are awesome. You just do dumb shit with them and make memes out of them.
I don't know. It's fine. I just, it's never.
Because people get really creative with photo mode.
Yeah, we spent a lot of this trailer talking about photo mode. They showed a little bit more with Yuffie and her little side quest thing. So yeah, I mean, it's coming out. It's gonna be fine. And the fact that you get the free upgrade to the PS5 version if you have the PS4 version, that's good. I'm glad to see that we have a lot more of that pathway happening these days. Of we were talking about Avengers earlier. What did you think about the Avengers PS5 upgrade? Like,
it's great. I haven't loading is non-existent, and I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Although, I think the only downside to it is I don't get to see some of those loading screen things, that show the hero really close up.
Oh yeah.
But other than that, I do really enjoy that. Plus, it's not as janky, because there's some sections that were kind of janky in the PS4 one, but on the PS5 one, I think it feels great.
Are you playing it at with the 60 frames per second, or are you playing it with the graphics? Because it's got that
I'm
same
doing
like
it with the graphics at the moment.
So 30 FPS graphics.
Yeah, I may try that the 60 FPS later on, but I actually really like it because I really wanted to see how much better it would have looked in the 4K. And it looks really good. So,
do you think? I think it's weird because with that Hawkeye DLC, like because they finally had a new level, it's harder to compare directly. I guess you played a lot more than I have, but like, did you find like the lighting and textures to be like that much more improved from the PS4 version?
Some of them were, yeah, because I went back to other levels because I didn't just play that part because once I got Hawkeye, I just started replaying a bunch of the others past stuff to level them up more and more, and it does look a lot nicer, to be honest. But by how much, I'm not 100% certain because I don't remember exactly what the old ones look like.
Right,
if that makes sense.
And because it's a more incremental upgrade. You're not just like, oh my god, this looks so much better than it used to.
It's more of like I'm just really happy that it does take any amount of time to load.
Yeah, that is nice
because those load times on the other one are really long.
I honestly think that like I really like this part of the new generation, that rather than having to wait for like the weird port of the previous version because the last generation was built on like PC architecture, that it's just like it's like that thing back in the day when you got a better video card and you could suddenly just reinstall your old game and then just crank all the detail levels all the way up and you're just like, yeah.
It's basically that, and I really like that.
We got a new trailer for 6 Days in Fallujah, which is a very odd game.
It's very odd.
Did you like? I don't know if you watched this one, Michael, but like, so
I actually did catch a glimpse of what's going on in this one.
The actual gameplay they show, it looks like, you know what it reminds me a lot of is. Did you ever play America's Army?
I did for like a little bit because they made it free at one point, and I was like, this game is garbage.
I played it a little bit. It looks a lot like that with kind of like a very realistic kind of thing. They've got this weird, they show off this feature where it's like they've kind of got a like a button that does a lot of different things. Like you can, if you point at a door, then it'll tell your guys to stack up. You point somewhere and then you press the button, it'll tell them like cover that area. But the thing that I actually I don't know if you got all the way to this part, is that apparently the game is going to be like procedurally generated to a degree. Like it's going to be randomized every single time you go to play it. And the reason for that is that they want to make it so that you can't like memorize the levels, so that you experience the same kind of like unsure fear and anxiety about like not knowing what's going to happen.
The uneasiness of like what's on the other side kind of thing.
Right. I'm still a little weirded out by this one because I can't tell whether this is going to be a I mean, it kind of looks like it's going to be a bit of a Call of Duty like but I don't know. I guess a lot of it, like, watching a first-person shooter in a Middle Eastern environment in this time period, I guess it kind of just looks like that, right? So it
kind of, yeah, and it's the whole premise of it just keeps reminding me of that old, not old, but the what is it, 30 Dark something? I can't remember the name of it, but it was that one where they're like, oh, we got all these like Marines and then followed them and made a movie. Kind of thing. It reminds me of that, but in video game form.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to
remember the name of that movie.
Zero Dark 30? Is that?
I don't know if it was that. I think that's a different one, but it might be. I don't know. It was just, I remember it being like one where it's like we got real people to be in this movie kind of thing. It was this whole action thing. It was this. It was like, I want to say like early 2010s, something like that.
I don't know. A lot of this though, I think is going to come down to like the graphics and everything here. They look fine, right?
They're actually not bad.
They're not bad.
Like you think about the premise, you're like, this is actually looks a lot better than I thought when they first announced it. Because originally I thought it was just going to be like some very low res, super janky looking thing, but it looks like a pretty decent shooter at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know. It might end up just being kind of like, I don't know, what, a cross between Call of Duty and Arma with some weird randomization in it.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see how this game goes because it's also, supposed to be based on a real event. So, which I am not qualified to really talk about, I feel.
No, neither of us are.
So let's change over to something silly. Kung Fu Panda is going to be in Brawlhalla, Michael.
I think that's kind of neat, though.
Yeah.
Like, I'm glad that Kung Fu Panda is still getting some love, even this far past, the trilogy being over.
Yeah. They're putting Tigress and Poe and then the bad guy from the first one in. And I believe that they're just like skins for existing characters. But they made a nice little animated thing, kind of showing it off that just makes me want to go watch Kung Fu Panda again because Kung Fu Panda rules, man. Like,
dude, the Kung Fu Panda series is one of the best fucking series that DreamWorks ever made.
It's so good. So
much heart to it.
Yeah. So if you want that Kung Fu Panda, yeah, you can get that Kung Fu Panda. We also got in other referential news. I don't know, Michael, why Netflix has such a goddamn hard-on for Cobra Kai, but they're making a Cobra Kai card game. It's a card game where people fight, but you fight using cards. So
I think they looked at because I think that's how the Injustice phone game works.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's what they're doing here. Is this a phone game?
Probably. Let's see.
It doesn't even say. It just says strategy thing.
Yeah. I would have.
There it is. Yeah. It says available for
iOS and Android.
Yeah. So they took the Injustice thing and then they just added the Cobra Kai people to it.
It's so weird. It's so strange. It's so weird. I remember when I heard that Netflix was going to be like putting out some video games, and I was like, oh, that could be fun. It has not been fun. It has not been a fun experience so far.
No, it is not.
Who's out there is just like, hey, Jeff, but what about the Narcos game? And I'm like, right. You know what the best one has been? Was it you and I that played that Peaky Blinders game that was like Desperados?
Yeah, I was at the bench and I'm like, what about that Peaky? I couldn't remember the name of it. So yeah, no, that one wasn't too bad.
That wasn't too bad. Well, better than too bad is Evil Genius 2, which I'm super excited for. We got a full-on Choose Your Genius trailer that kind of goes over all of the different evil geniuses. This is actually, I believe, the wrong trailer. I cannot wait to play Evil Genius 2. It comes out next week, and I'm absolutely in love with this game. I love the different evil geniuses. They come down to there's 4 of them. There's kind of a big burly Russian guy. There's like this kind of evil CEO lady. There's the kind of guy that looks like Blofeld from 007, and then there's my personal favorite, which is this lady with like, she's got like the science hair. She's got like she's got like a beehive, but then she's got like a big like bowl, like a spaceman clear helmet over the beehive, and I'm just like, yay. And I believe, if I remember correctly, that the big Russian guy is going to be voiced by Brian Blessed.
Oh my god.
Is that the one that I thought? I don't know. In any case, Evil Genius 2 is coming out next week. I want everybody to play Evil Genius 2. We also got an actual combat gameplay trailer for Biomutant, which was announced like 2 years ago, with the raccoon with the machine gun, and it looks like it's going to be like kind of a really psychedelic third-person action game, and like we see the kind of raccoon-looking guy, but then we see some other kind of protagonists. There's like some weird cartoon letters happening when you hit people, and like very psychedelic colors. It looks really strangely compelling in a third-person action game kind of way. So, yeah.
That could be cool.
Mm-hmm. And then last but not least in the video category, I doubt you had time to watch this, but this kind of connects to another story. Everybody remember who Ikumi Nakamura was? You might know her as like, remember that lady that came out for Ghostwire Tokyo and was like spooky, right? Like, but everybody should actually know her fucking name because she's rad and she's not just like, I don't know, she's not just like internet candy, man. Okay. So she put out this 17-minute video because she's making a new studio, and it's called Ikumi Nakamura Remnant Tour, and it's basically 17 minutes of her just like walking through these various, like, I think it's 3 or 4 different like abandoned areas, like with a camera, just like taking pictures of kind of dilapidated apartment blocks and like this various other places. And in the meantime, she just does this voiceover where she talks about like how she got into games. Apparently, like, I didn't know this, I don't know how well known this was, but apparently the reason that she left Tango Softworks was because the culture there for game development was very much the kind of like sleep under your desk, work your ass off.
Oh, okay.
And she was sick, and she was like, this is making my health degrade. So like, I have the choice between trying to muscle through this and perhaps like becoming sicker, or like leaving and letting them finish this game that I worked on, because I can't keep up with the same pressure. There's a lot of really great stuff in here, and it's also really just beautifully shot. It's got a nice soundtrack. It's really great. I think everybody should watch this. Like, she talks a lot about how she feels like, and it's just, a person kind of just talking about, like, she talks about how, like, after she left after E3 and after she left Tango Softworks, there were like a bunch of different game developers out there that sent messages like supporting her and asking if she wanted to come tour their studios. So she actually flew around the world, like touring different studios to see how different countries made video games. And she decided that she wanted to make like a studio with a smaller vision that was staffed by, like, she talks about how just like, oh yeah, I talked to a lot of foreign people, and foreign people have a different a different outlook on how to make games, and so I want to make sure that I have like a very diverse group of people making games with me. It's really interesting. Like, she talks at one point about how she feels like the stories that men write for video games are like, they're very straightforward and kind of very easy to understand, but then like the stories that women write for video games of developers that she's talked to have like, they've been more inclusive. So like they've like been more of their time and have tended to include like more people, so they've been different, and just talking about just all this different stuff. It's a really beautiful little video. I really think everybody should go watch it. It's very cool.
Good for her though, because I remember she left pretty much right after she became an internet sensation.
Yeah, she even talks about that. She talks about how she had like a very scripted thing that she was going to say, and she'd been practicing for weeks her English to make sure that she could go out. She said that it was very good. And like right before she went out on stage, like the person that was directing it was like, hey, listen, man, this is going to come off as totally fake. Just get out there and fucking speak from the heart. And then just like shoved her out in front of 4,000 people to do her thing. It's really great. Everybody should go check it out, because because mostly also because I don't like to get too weird about this stuff, but like I feel like the internet sees her as this cute Japanese meme lady, and this is like, hey, no, there's like a person there. Like, she talks about how the internet kind of thinks that she's just like super into like spooky violent stuff, and she's like, no, but I like all kinds of stuff. Like, I just worked on this one game because I got fascinated with paranormal investigation technology and like how that fits into our ideas about the paranormal and ghosts and stuff. So everybody should go watch it. I think it's great. Let's see. Speaking of making new studios, Amazon is making a new studio.
Oh, geez.
Amazon Games Montreal. That's staffed of people who worked, was part of the original core development team for Rainbow Six Siege. And apparently they're going to be making some kind of online multiplayer type of game. I think Amazon needs to like get one game out that doesn't suck.
Yeah, they need to make a game that works first of all before continuously making more studios. But sure, why not?
Yeah, they should just pull a Microsoft and just buy game studios that are already working on something, and then just like publish it, slap their name on the front, and be done with it. Like, I don't know.
Also, Montreal's full of studios apparently.
Yeah. So far, I mean, like the one game that they put out was that Crucible game.
Yes, they came out with it for like a minute,
for like a month, and then they pulled it. There was also that what was that horrible game with the Titans? that they poached the Killer Instinct studio to make that ended up being like horrible. No, it was like the giant ogres, and then you had to cut off like their arms and their legs like one at a time, and it was boring and stupid. So
poor guys.
Yeah. We got a release date for Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne HD Remaster. It's going to be coming out for the Switch, PS4, and PC May 25th. This was announced, I think it was early last year, right?
I think so.
That they were doing this. Apparently Shin Megami Tensei 3 is very, very difficult. They've got like a new difficulty level as well as some other stuff that they've added in. So you can check that out. Total War Rome is getting a remaster that's coming out in April, where they're going to be, kind of putting it back together, doing some visual improvements, 4K, support for high definition or ultra high resolutions, environments, details, and stuff like that. That's going to be coming out in April. And if you own it on Steam, you get a 50% discount. So if you like Total War, there you go. I don't give a shit about Total War, but I do give a shit about Binary Domain. And there's a news story last week where Daisuke Sato, who's one of the producers from the Yakuza series, who was the studio that made Binary Domain, is talking about how they'd really like to get Binary Domain back out there. They've actually said that he would really like to get it so that it was like backwards compatible, enhanced on the Xbox, right? Because that would like to be the easiest way to do that. 2012 is when Binary Domain came out.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That game is a cult sensation.
Mm-hmm. I like this article on Kotaku that talks about it because it says, what does it say? Where's the part? Originally released back in 2012 on the PS3 and Xbox 360, Binary Domain is one of those games that will occasionally come up in casual conversation, and if the right person is around and you tell them you haven't played it, will cause them to lose their shit and have a copy of the game immediately sent priority mail to wherever you live.
It's one of those games, yeah.
It was good.
Very weird game.
I've had it on my short list for potential sequentials for a while, but I don't know that anybody wants to watch a weird Gears of War thing about robots.
Who knows?
I don't know.
Who knows?
Gotham Knights has been delayed. So, Michael,
dun, dun, dun.
I'm sorry, but you're not going to be able to play your weird online multiplayer Batman game this year. You got to wait till next year. Yeah.
I think this is a thing for signs to come for more games getting delayed probably. This isn't a game that I was particularly excited for, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, yeah, me neither. This looks like they tried to take Arkham Asylum and then graft it onto Marvel's The Avengers, and I'm not really into that concept as a whole.
No, I'm not really either, which is a shame because I kind of like the idea, but even then, I don't know if I do or not. I don't know.
It would be,
see more of it too because they haven't really shown off that much, anyways.
You know what? It would be a whole different world that we lived in, Michael, if anybody had ever done anything like that and it had been a resounding success that was super fun to play. But I feel like so far, what do we got? Anthem, Destiny, Marvel's The Avengers, Star Wars Battlefront. I mean, no, that's not even right. But what
Battlefront? Yeah.
What's a good third-person action games as service that you play with your friends game? Or is there one? I don't know if there is one. Like,
people really like Warframe.
Yeah, but Warframe's free, motherfucker. So,
well, yeah, that's true. That's the thing is all the ones that we've mentioned were paid for originally because I know the Destiny eventually became free to play, right?
Yeah. Games as service games. Can I get a list? Has there ever been a good one? Has there been somebody's saying it? Let's see what Wikipedia has a listing. History and forums, game subscriptions, season passes. No, okay, fuck it. I don't know. If you can think of a good third-person free-to-play, I don't know. I'm just not that interested.
I get it.
There are people who like playing online with their friends, and there are people who don't. And I feel like the game industry doesn't understand that the people that aren't really into playing online with their friends, nothing's going to make us interested in playing online with our friends. I've tried to force that concept into my life over and over and over again because game publishers are like, look, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe this is the one. And every time it's like, nope, That's nope, just not it. I'm not interested. Not interested. So
no, yeah, they try, and if you're not interested in playing with your friends, you're not going to be interested in playing with random people.
That's true. I don't know if you're interested in playing with your friends though. You might be interested in playing Back 4 Blood, which was supposed to be out June 18th, but has been pushed back into October 12th.
That's probably better for it's what it is, to be honest.
Well, I don't think that Turtle Rock has that many more chances. So, if they need this time to make their Left 4 Dead 4 work, then, yeah, do that. Do it.
Absolutely. Go for it.
I'm really disappointed, though, because the Final Fantasy 11 mobile game reboot got canceled. I'm one of the 12 people in this world that played Final Fantasy 11, and I played the shit out of it. It was not good. But apparently they were going to be porting it over to phones, and they announced that they've been trying to, but the quality just isn't high enough, and they don't like what they've got. So, which doesn't surprise me when you consider that Final Fantasy 11 was a very weird technical game. So, I don't know. Final Fantasy 11's online MMO structure was built around the idea of writing these macros, and part of the macros was automating your person being I'm gonna do my thing in 3, 2, 1, because you needed people to pop skills at the same time.
Yeah.
Very strange. Speaking of strange, the Sega Arcade Mini is coming to the West. Limited Run Games is bringing over this tiny little arcade cabinet. This is one of those.
That's what that email was about. They said, I checked my email a little while ago that mentioned that in the headline, but I didn't read it.
Yeah. This is one of those ones where you can plug it into the TV via HDMI, and there's, I think, even a controller that you can buy for it. It's going to come out at $130. And then also there's a gamepad. The gamepad is $28. And then there's also an arcade style kit, which is a little kit that makes it into a little, a tiny little arcade cabinet with a little stool in front of it, that you could buy for another $40 if you're really into that. Yeah. It's going to have Alex Kidd, Alien Storm, Alien Syndrome, Altered Beast, Raven 5, Bonanza Brothers Columns. I'm not going to read all these. It's a lot of Sega games.
A lot. Shinobi's in there, Sonic Boom.
Yep. Virtua Fighter, Wonder Boy, Golden Axe 2. And then last but not least, I don't know if you read this article, Michael, but apparently the latest thing on Twitch... I actually watched some of this, is watching a stop sign. I think that this is kind of done at this point, but there's a Twitch TV channel called Stop Sign Cam. Oh shit, is it live? Oh no, I think it's off. Yeah, it's off. And what this was somebody basically started streaming a traffic cam that was pointed kind of at a stop sign. Now, I actually watched a little bit of this. The thing is that nobody comes to a complete stop at this stop sign. Everybody just kind of either slows down or just blows right through this stop sign, no problem. This is the sort of thing where there was a few people that were watching from time to time, and then a very famous TikToker by the name of oh my god, this article is so fucking long. JH
right there, the 100 Thieves intern JHB team.
Yeah. Yes. 100 Thieves intern JHB team promoted the stream. And then suddenly it was hundreds of people were going on there. And then once people figured out where it was, people started two guys went down there with lightsabers and had a fight in front of the camera. People started coming down with things that they would hold up, and there were drones going by and stuff, which I think is why they've turned it off, because it was just encouraging people. But it was really interesting to watch because Michael, I don't know about you. When I was okay, story time, because we're about to go into questions. I got my learner's permit when I was, 17 when you get your learner's permit, 16, 17, somewhere around there.
Something like that, yeah.
And my parents let me take one of their cars to drive to high school. And the first day that I had this car, I was driving out from high school, and I blew a stop sign. I didn't come to a complete stop, right? And there was just a fucking cop like waiting for some dumb student to do that. So I was immediately pulled over like the very first day that I had my driver's license, my learner's permit. It wasn't even my full license.
Yeah.
And I got a warning. And I was so afraid that this cop, he was on point, man, because like he put the fear of fucking God into me that like I was going to go home with a ticket on the very first day that I had my driver's license. Now, I was really stupid when I did get my driver's license. I used to do this thing, Michael, where I would like, there'd be like a car at a stoplight and I would see it from a distance and I would floor it at the car that was at the stoplight, then jam on my brakes the last second to come screeching to a halt right behind the car. Eventually, this ended with me rear-ending somebody, and because of fucking course it did. But I will say that to this day, I don't give a fuck. I come to a complete stop at every stop sign, stoplight. Like every time you've got to come to a stop, I wait for my car to fall back. Do you come to a complete stop, Michael? I want to out your driving habits now, but do you come to a complete stop when you go to stop signs and red lights and stuff?
Sometimes it depends on where I'm going. Like if it's a right turn, sometimes I'll just go. If it's like I don't see anybody at all, like on a light itself, on a stop sign, I usually stop. I don't know if it's complete stop all the time, but I'm at least stopping. It's the thing. Like I don't fully like the car's momentum. There might be a little bit at most, but it's not as ridiculous as I would. But I did actually get into a car accident the first time I had my license, like within 24 hours.
Really?
So yeah, that did actually happen. Like I got off the highway. This was off of near where the fuck was this? Near Mr. Tramps or whatever that place.
Yeah, 183 in Austin.
Where where that bow shop is or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that archery place. Yeah, yep. I got into an accident right there because I entered the right side without really looking who was coming. So I like.
Oh, you didn't check your blind spot?
No, and so yeah, within 24 hours, and it was my mom's birthday, and it was a whole thing.
I bet you always check your blind spot now, don't you?
Yeah, that guy was pissed. He was so mad at me, and he was even more pissed off when he was like, "Where's your license?" And I pulled out the paper one. He was even like twice as upset. He's like, "This is just the worst fucking day."
One of the things that happened as I was watching this is eventually like cops started watching this shit on their phones, and then just like coming around the corner and like you just see a cop. Like somebody would run that stop sign, and then like 4 seconds later, a cop would come from the opposite direction, just the way that they went. And the chat was just like, yeah, like people were keeping track of the number of people that ran this stop sign. I don't know, man. Like, I'm that guy. I'm going to be honest with you. If you're an aggressive driver, you do not want to be anywhere close to Jeff from Rage Select because, like, I drive slow. I drive safe. I'm listening to my podcast. I got my fucking Honda Civic all tuned up. I'm not about to take any chances. I don't want to get pulled over. I'm 42 years old. I don't care. I got nowhere to be. I got to go to Starbucks so I can record a podcast, and I don't care what kind of hurry you're in. You can go around. You go around me, motherfucker.
I'm in the middle, and it depends on my mood. And,
yeah.
Because I remember I took you somewhere, and you were like, fuck.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, well, I drive stick shift, and my body's telling me to go fast.
Yeah, I'm sure that to anybody that cares, I used to be a speed demon, but then I finally internalized that lesson that it's like if you drive 80 miles an hour, you'll get to the place you're going like 3 minutes before if you drive like 65 miles an hour. So I
need those 3 minutes, Jeff. I need them.
I don't. You can have the 3 minutes. You can go fuck yourself. You can take my 3 minutes.
I gotta be a champion. I gotta beat my ghost on the way to your house or whatever.
Man, you know what? I am not interested anymore in like. I would like from this point forward to never get another ticket or be in another accident. And like for me, driving like a fucking grandma is just fine if that's the end result is no tickets and no fucking accidents because.
No, I got you. Yeah, I haven't been in an accident in a while, but that's mostly because, I had a car loan for as long as I did.
Yeah. So I don't know if they'll be putting this back up again. It seems like a pretty fun thing while it lasted, though. It went from like 8 people to like 40,000 people watching this game. So,
Jesus Christ,
which just goes to show. And hey, Look at that. We are not even going into overtime. We got regular question time. Woo! Maybe more weeks like this. All right, let's see. Let's do some stuff. I got... we didn't talk about this because I don't really have a dog in this fight. Like, you know, Gilson, Ponta's copyright strike,
that's right.
Jim Sterling last week. I don't think you should copyright strike people if they make fun of your game. However, I will say that Gilson, I believe, has like a PR person who offered me a review code for Taisho Gun, The Rise of Emperor, and I mailed them back and said, like, we already recorded this and we were really mean about it, but if you want to send me a key, you can. I don't know if anybody wants a key for this. Like, I was originally going to do a thing where I had Puppet Jeff come up in the middle of the video and say, we're doing a giveaway, retweet this, and I'll put you in the running for a key to this crappy LGS Productions game. But I just ran out of time. I didn't have enough time last week. So,
okay.
I don't know. Does anybody want this key? Should we do a thing this week? Should we have a give? I don't feel like this is a good giveaway because you're not enticing people. Hey, do you guys want a PS4 exclusive shit game? But
you might as well. Fuck it.
But afterwards, I got an email from them that just says, "Hi, Jeff. Mr. Pontus sends thanks for the last video. Best regards," and then no signature. No signature. Like, and the first email that I got was from LGS Games Productions. I think that this is Gilson. I think Gilson knows my name now. I think this could be a problem moving forward.
It's the blank best regards that makes me laugh because it makes it seem like something horrible might happen.
Also, I just realized this email address is at zohomail.com.
Holy shit.
ZOHOmail.com. I've never heard of Zoho Mail before.
Actually, I know what Zoho is, and that's why I'm surprised because, you know, my people don't know. I don't know if they know this, but I work for e-commerce stuff. Zoho is a free email service. They don't even pay for their email service.
Holy shit! Why not just use Gmail? Like,
I don't know, because normally, like, if somebody uses Zoho for free is because they're using their domain name. But they're not even doing that, so that makes even less sense.
See, that just makes me Zoho Mail just makes me think of Zombocom, which is old. That's some old internet shit right there.
Jesus Christ.
So, yeah, I got an email from Gilson. Also, Gilson, if you're listening, you shouldn't copyright strike people because they make fun of your games. You know what you're doing. I know you know what you're doing because I've seen your old games and they're better. They're better than your recent games. You're making them so that YouTubers like me will get on and scream and yell like babies and say, wow, look how bad this game is. And like, yes, that's what we're doing. That's what you want us to do. The end. By the way, we had a very quick one. Jeremy Clifton wrote in and said, were you aware that Super Seducer 3 is out? Can you man to get on that pronto? The first two are some of my favorite Rage Select videos. That's from Jeremy. Jeremy, I think that we're going to be getting on to Super Seducer. The thing is that Richard La Ruina's website has a link to buy Super Seducer 3. But Michael, you can see that when I click on it, it goes to about:blank #blocked. It doesn't actually go to a page to buy it. Like I can't.
What was the link supposed to be?
I don't know. It's supposed to be the link to buy Super Seducer 3 directly from his website. And I clicked on it and I don't get anything. There's a second buy button over here and I click on that and I didn't get anything there either. So if I can fix your website and I'll buy your stupid ass game and Amanda and I will make fun of it. Probably not next week though, because you know, Disco Elysium comes out next week and that's like more important than fucking Super Seducer. So, all right. Back to real questions. Whiskey Hal of Flanders writes in and says, hello, Jeff and Michael. One small story and a question. After listening to last week's podcast, I believe it was in March 2021, I decided to watch The Big Sleep. I read the book some years ago and didn't like it mainly because of the homophobia in it, and I don't really enjoy detective stories in general. It was apparent when watching The Big Sleep that they really don't explain the relationship/connections between different people in the movie. I like that aspect, but at the same time, I feel dumb for not understanding everyone's reason or motives for being in the story. What do you guys think of this aspect of the movie? And then a game-related question. My parents have started cleaning out their house, so it's time to throw out my old stash of PC, Xbox 360, and PlayStation 1 games. It is a lot, and I might keep some of the 360 games to replay, but what should I do with the rest of them? Throwing them out feels a bit harsh, and bringing them to a GameStop or Game Mania feels stupid as well. Any advice? Stay well, and see you in the later. Whiskey Howl of Flanders. Let's see. What to do with old video games is a good question. If you can donate them, if you have like any kind of local. So here in Austin, we have a place called Game Over Video Games that's like a vintage place. So I'd say like if you don't want to.
Probably what he meant by the Game Mania thing. Yeah.
Oh, is that what that is?
Maybe it might be his version of that. Maybe.
I mean, that's probably what I would do. I don't know. Let me see if I can find out what Game Mania is.
It would be the easiest thing to do, and you might find something like you might want in those areas. Because with Game Over Video Games, they got a lot of cool shit that isn't just like the games themselves.
Yeah.
So you could that's one of the reasons I would do something like that. It also depends on what PS1 games you have, because you might have, if you have some rare ones, you might be able to get some real good cash out of them.
That's true. You can always put them online if you want to try that out. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. To be honest, like when it comes to games, I would almost say like the physical real estate needed to keep the discs for games is actually pretty low in comparison to like, systems or books or things like that. Yeah. Like you might just go out and buy one of those big sleeves that holds like 1,000 DVDs or whatever, and just put them all in there, shove them in the back of your closet, and be like, I'm just going to keep these. And then, in 20 years, I'm going to rip all 200 of them and put them on a website so that people can download them. Yeah, I don't know. Because there are people probably who might want those games. You might be able to just find somebody who will just take them off of you. Who knows? Yep. I mean, you could always see if let's look around and see if like
Craigslist. I don't know.
Yeah, or maybe if you could find like a local gaming group or something. I don't know. Like if there's maybe like a comic book store. I don't. Here in town we have what's that place where is that place still exists? Probably not after COVID. There's a place here in Austin, I believe, called Gamers Republic, where you could go rent.
They might still be around, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, you could rent time on a console. That might be something to look into, like a local gaming type of thing.
People who would take those. Like I guarantee you, somebody's going to want what you have somewhere.
Yeah,
it just all depends. And if honestly, taking them to your local little game thing, it's not silly. It's just a quick you'll feel like you're taking them somewhere that may eventually take them to a good home if you really don't feel like doing the work. Kind of thing. And like I said, a lot of those places sometimes don't just sell game stuff. They might have something that you might like that you could buy there too. That's memorabilia. Who knows?
Hell, even who knows? You guys know how I feel about GameStop, but there's probably a better chance that your game would get sold eventually to a player through GameStop as a trade-in, because they're going to, if it doesn't sell in the store, it'll get retired to a stock place where if somebody orders it, they can ship it from their website, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So who knows? As far as Big Sleep, I agree that in the movie they don't really explain the connections and relationships all that much. The book is actually a lot more coherent. And I also agree about the homophobia. There's some obvious... they don't just say there's a gay dude. It's just there's some characters that are like, oh, he was very fancy and nobody liked him. And, if you know what I mean. But I agree. The problem with the Big Sleep is that if you're going to go do it, you should go, spoilers for a fucking 60-year-old movie, right? But the kind of the end result is that the sister did it because she's crazy. That's kind of the whole plot of the movie is he's trying to find this guy, and it leads him to all this kind of other stuff where there's a gangster that's involved. And it turns out that what happened was the little sister that he meets at the very beginning is crazy, and she killed this guy, and this mobster helped the big sister cover up the crime, and that the two sisters' dad doesn't know what happened to this guy, and so he hires Philip Marlowe to go find out what happens, and he kind of goes all around the world, and everybody keeps telling him, you fucking leave it alone, Marlowe, like a dog with a bone, stop it, and eventually he kind of susses out what happened. But it doesn't. The problem with the movie is that they spent so much time trying to make a relationship between Marlo and the sister that it kind of gets a little like. There's a scene in the book where the little sister tries to kill Philip Marlowe in a fucking psychotic fit because he won't fucking bang her. And it turns out he put blanks in the gun, and it's like, okay, so okay
then, sure.
But that isn't even in the movie. Like, I don't believe that point's even in the movie. He's just like, I figured out your fucking sister's crazy. Yeah. Septum Sin versus the World Right says, greetings, Rage Lords. I finally managed to get a hold of a PlayStation 5. Congratulations. By good luck in keeping up with GameStop on Facebook. And I'm finally playing Demon Souls for the first time. I have beaten the first Dark Souls and watched your playthrough of the game a while back, but was curious what advice you have for a Demon Souls newbie like myself. Best wishes for you, Septum Sin versus the World. Michael, I know how much into the Souls games you are, so what advice do you have for our listener here?
The advice is to call Jeff, and then Jeff will just do the game for you. The end.
Yeah. So here's the thing. There are a few things. Here's the thing about Souls games. If you want to make any Souls game easy, there are 3 ways that you can do it. Put stat points into Vitality, because there's no armor that's as good as having a shitload of health. Use magic. Magic breaks every Souls game. And for Demon Souls specifically, remember that you can farm for both MP and HP recovery items. You can get HP recovery items most areas. You get MP recovery items from the fucking Cthulhu's at the top of the Tower of Latria. You can basically, if you're having trouble with anything, stock up on healing/magic items and just bully your way through the fucking thing. Just fucking bully your way through it. Doesn't matter. Let's see. Patty Cakes writes in and says, hello, Jeff and Michael. Jeff, I'm sorry, Michael. I didn't realize all these were like addressed to me specifically.
No, I gotcha. Yeah, no, that's the point of the question. Questions are questions, bud.
It says, Jeff, why did you dislike Hyper Light Drifter? I finally got around to playing it, and I'm loving the hell out of it. I'm almost at the last boss. It's like if someone successfully combined the gameplay mechanics of Super Nintendo Zelda and Mega Man X and then added a dash of Soulsborne DNA. I feel like it's something you would really like, but I remember you saying on a recent Let's Play that you bounced off it. I even went back to see your initial thoughts in the 2016 Let's Play, and you seem to like it a lot. Care to give a mini review of your experience? Just genuinely curious. Overall, I'm loving the indie game scene on the Switch with games like Shovel Knight, Celeste, Hollow Knight, Hyper Light Drifter. Any recommendations for indie games of the same ilk? Best regards. And that is from Patty Cakes. I think that a lot of it just came down to like, I don't know. It stopped being, I don't feel like there was enough. What I remember is that there was too much game and not enough story. Like one of the things that I feel like a lot of Souls-ish games, like the first Neo did, is that there was just like a lot of challenging gameplay, and I didn't feel like I knew why I was doing anything. And so gameplay without story, it has to be really, really good gameplay for me to care about gameplay without story. And I feel like Hyper Light Drifter may have been close, but not. It just didn't work for me. Sometimes it's hard to say, I would honestly have to go back and play it again in order to say for sure, because, Patty Cakes, no offense or anything, but I've played roughly a fucking 6,000 games since 2016. That's 5 fucking years ago. I put out a video every day. Every day I'm playing a new game on this website. So I don't remember. Michael, do you know of any good indie Switch games that we could recommend?
I don't actually. That's the thing, is I haven't really paid attention to the indie scene on Switch the way I probably should.
Shovel Knight, Celeste, Hollow Knight, Hyper Light Drifter. You know what? I think I got an answer for you. And it's called Hades.
Okay. I figured I wasn't sure if Hades was the same as some of those, so yeah. Hades is fantastic. And it's on the Switch.
Hades kind of has a similar it's a little similar to Hyper Light Drifter in being like a top-down isometric kind of action game. If you want another challenging side-scrolling game like Hollow Knight, I might suggest Dead Cells, right? Dead Cells works for that. You probably check out Enter the Gungeon. Ooh, I bet you would like Katana Zero as well. That's really a kind of challenging side-scrolling game. Did you ever play Katana Zero, Michael?
I did not. I meant to, but I just never did.
Okay, that's pretty cool. All right, let's do some Discord questions because I feel like they're more general and less. Guys, you gotta send us some questions and fucking mail@ragesight.com is the email address to send in questions where I go let's see. I think that I skipped this one last time. If I'm repeating myself, I apologize. Persian King 44 says, "Howdy, Jeff and Michael. How do you guys feel about games having good endings and bad endings that depend entirely upon the choices you make throughout the game? I confess that I feel most aren't handled organically and are just there because it's the newish trend for RPGs and other types of games, and as a result, they feel somewhat hollow and meaningless to me. Sometimes it's made even worse when, in order to get the preferred ending, you have to make a choice that you would not have made otherwise, especially if you're a projector kind of gamer like I am, and the choice completely flies in the face of your own personal headcanon. It personally makes me wish that more games would follow more in the style of endings like The Witcher 3 or Red Dead Redemption 2, where the ending is largely the same regardless of your choices, but your choices are dependent on how much you like other characters and how you want to personally shape the relationships of the characters, the world, and the world state of the game. Thanks and Happy New Year."
Jeez, that was that far back, wasn't it?
What do you think, Michael? Good endings and bad endings?
I'm a big fan of good and bad endings, depending on how they're written. Because sometimes a bad ending will just be like horrible, fucked up shit. The end, and they're just like, well, that wasn't very interesting, kind of thing. But when a bad ending is like, no, this is like I'm just always interested in what is considered a bad ending sometimes, just to see what they do with it. Like, I'm a big fan of, and it gives me a good reason to sometimes go back and play something. Especially if there's stuff that's happening in between it to get to the bad ending. Whereas, like if it's just you did one or two things and then you get a bad ending, kind of like the way BioShock 1 was, then those you can just look up on YouTube, kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess it kind of depends on whether, when you say bad ending, whether you're talking about like there are moral choices that lead you to like the end of BioShock, the bad ending is really just the like, I took control of this place and exploited those little bitches to fucking work for me. Like, it's not necessarily like, and then there's a bad ending that was like, oh well, you failed and everybody died, and that was the ending. Like, that was the bad ending. In order to get the good ending, you have to do all these things. I generally wish that we could just get away from both concepts, that you could have endings that were satisfying regardless. Because like I mentioned Disco Elysium before, and like one of the biggest problems that I had with Disco Elysium was that there are these like one-time dice rolls in Disco Elysium that you can do, and if you fail them, you can never try them again, and they'll lock off certain things. So they're like stat rolls, like it's a physical check of 7, right? And you've got to roll X in order to get that. And if you don't hit that option is fully locked off to you. And I think I kind of boned myself in Disco Elysium because I would save scum those dice rolls because I wanted them, because I'm so trained to be like, there is success and then failure in video games. Like, it's not about, and in Disco Elysium, it's like, well, if you fail, that takes the story in a different direction, not like, well, you lost, game over, type of thing. So I wish it was just a little bit more neutral, a little bit more morally ambiguous.
No, I get it. Yeah. Like I said, it all depends on the endings, because like Far Cry 5, I don't like any of the Far Cry 5 endings kind of thing. But like, I'm a big fan of the Far Cry 4 endings, like that sort of thing. Like, it all depends on really what the ending is. If the ending is just some nonsense for everybody all around, then you're just like, oh, fuck that. But if it's like an ending that it's an ending that I feel comfortable with, and I find it interesting, or even like, crazy fun endings, I think are some of my favorite. Like a lot of the Silent Hill ones.
Yep.
Where it's like, it was the dog, and you're just like, hell yeah, it was. Like, just stupid shit like that. Like, I love that weird shit like that when it comes to different endings.
Or Jesus Lord, the like the original Nier endings.
Oh yeah.
Like, you could look up some of those Nier. In fact, they're doing the remake version, right? But like, there's some of those endings where I to this day don't really understand what's happening, because it's like a bunch of Titanic babies flying through the air, eating everybody's brains or something. And I'm just like, what?
And one of the endings, goes into that other Nier game.
No, that's Drakengard.
Drake. Oh, that's right. Yeah, it's Drakengard. That's the thing. I don't like Nier is just fucking weird in general.
Yeah,
like it's just like what the fuck.
One of the endings of Drakengard is that one of the dragons from the Drakengard game comes to this world as opposed to the medieval magic world they're in.
Yeah.
And then that dragon brings with it a plague that wipes out all of humanity. And so the things that happened in Nier, the post-apocalyptic world of Nier, is technically our world after the dragon from Drakengard came in, because there's like an ending cutscene where a bunch of fighter jets are fighting like a dragon in downtown Tokyo, and you're like, what? I'm sorry.
It's fucking weird, guys.
What?
Alternate endings and shit are fun depending on what it is. Some are really fun and some are just ridiculous, but some are fun ridiculous, and I'm all for it.
I think that we just need to get
fighting game endings.
Yeah. I just think that we need to get away from the really when we started this whole good evil like binary choice thing like Mass Effect, and then like I feel as time went on. Actually, no. You know where that shit, like KOTOR, right? Where you could either be...
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You could either be like the greatest Jedi in the universe or like the most psychotic monster that ever lived. Kill your best friend, Wookiee man. And he's like, I owe him a life debt. I have to. And your friend's like, we've been together for years. And I'm just like, oh my God, what have I done? Or like, what kind of person wants to blow up Megaton in Fallout 3? That's not a morally ambiguous thing. That's like the gangster that lives in the posh tower doesn't like those yokels and wants you to blow them up. And like, what? I don't understand.
Yeah, some games are really over the top with what you have to do to get those like dark endings.
Yeah. So I like it better when it's not just those. Let's see. Adjudicator Prime writes in and says, hello, Jeff and Michael. I just finished watching Star Trek Generations. Oh, I'm sorry. The first time I watched it, I was 9, and I remember being mildly interested. As I got older, I loved TNG. Never rewatched any of the movies, though. Recently, as in last night, in January, I decided to start rewatching all the movies, and rewatching Generations with all the emotional context of the series and the emotional/intellectual understanding of an adult has just blown my mind. I was super sad when I realized Picard's nephew and brother are dead in that movie. Just the emotional impact alone has left me reeling. Have you ever experienced anything like this from childhood, just coming back to something with an adult perspective/different context, and been shocked at how much nuance and depth you missed the first time around? Was it a film, book, or some other form of media that you experienced? I'm super interested to hear your response. Stay amazing. And that's from Judicator Prime. What do you think, Michael? Got any ideas?
Well, it happens with a lot of just cartoons and stuff that I watched when I was younger. Like the entire DC anime universe is a great example of that. Because when I was a kid, it was just a lot of Superman, Batman, all this cool stuff going on. But then you realize the implications of the entirety of both of those series and the things that happen to everybody that turns into Justice League, and then the Cadmus storyline for Justice League Unlimited. You're like, wow, this is fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, it's just full of stuff like that. Another thing would be the first time Jeff really pointed out to me Transformers the movie and the implications of how fucked up that entire series, that entire movie is.
Yeah. Old Transformers the movie. Let's kill your heroes, kids. Is it any wonder that I don't give a fuck if they fuck up my childhood? I'm like, there was a point in time, like before I had even read the Narnia books and internalized their Jesus Christ metaphor lion, I got to watch evil shoot my childhood hero in the heart in a movie theater and watched his dead, lifeless corpse turn to ash while the only human in the room wept on his bulk, his just dead carcass. Yeah, thanks, Transformers the movie. We want to sell more toys. Yeah, good job. And
what a crazy thing to do. Even like now, it's like, what the fuck, guys?
I still think that, like, just the first scene, where they show Unicron destroying a planet and melting down the population to power him, and it's just like this is a Cthulhu. This is a cosmic horror we're looking at. It just happens to be a robot and not a squid, right?
And then just like the horribleness of that movie, and I don't mean like it being a bad movie. I mean like the horrible just shit that happens consistently throughout that movie. You're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Yep. Like I don't know how a child is supposed to internalize the quintessence. Like,
no, I don't know how they would. Yeah, how that would work at all.
Yeah,
it's such a deeply effective thing that there's an entire episode of a sitcom dedicated to that episode.
Wait, which sitcom? Have you seen this?
The Goldbergs.
Oh, I don't think I've seen that.
I've told you about that. Yeah, so there's a show called The Goldbergs about a kid who grows up in the 80s, and sometimes there's an episode based on like a specific event, and one of them is that his grandpa takes him to go watch Transformers the movie, and it causes him to realize that one day his grandfather's gonna die, and so he has to like deal with like the fact that he's like, oh my god, people I love can be killed, and he's just like, it's a really good episode.
I think I was looking around on the internet, and I think I found my answer. And it's a movie that I watched a million times as a kid, and like then the older you get, it's like you start in layers to understand more and more and more and more. And that movie is Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Like,
oh Jesus, that's a great answer.
Because when you're a kid, you're just like, oh my god, Mickey and fucking Bugs are on screen at the same time, and you know, maybe I don't think when I was a kid. I mean, like, you know, I saw that movie in the theater when did it come out? 1988. I was 10 years old when Who Framed Roger Rabbit came out. I watched it in the theater. There's a lot in there for kids, right? But like, I don't think I was really that proficient in even just what the hard-boiled detective genre was at that point. And then, like, you know, all the stuff about Eddie Valiant, like, trying to drink himself to death over the pain and loss of his brother, and, like, his relationship with Dolores and how it's been, like, destroyed by this crippling. Like, Eddie Valiant is a tragic
Absolutely.
figure. And then there's like the whole thing where it's like the patty cake scene. It's sex. It's a metaphor for fucking sex. Not to mention that 10-year-olds probably just shouldn't be looking at Jessica Rabbit in general. I mean, just like the number of things going on there. And then like even once you get past all that stuff, right? The fact that when you learn that I think I looked this up one time that like acetone, like the dip is like paint thinner, that it's technically kind of paint thinner, like that's what it is. But then you find out about the actual history of the United States when the car companies bought up the streetcars and dismantled them. Like what Judge Doom was doing actually happened in the United States. Like industrialists did that, not fucking Doc Brown with dagger cartoon eyes. Like that actually happened.
Like, yeah, as a kid you're like, wait, what was his plan? Like you never think about it, and then as an adult when he says his plan, you're like, that's diabolical.
Well, not just that, but like the idea that when you're a kid, like especially 1988 when this came out, right? Like I didn't know a world with fucking streetcars. Like I didn't know what it was like to live in a world where there were streetcars that you could ride for a nickel. I it was just an old timey thing for me. And he talks about like, highways with billboards, and then they defeat him, and it's like, hooray for our heroes. But like, wait, what, didn't the thing he said, isn't that where I live right now?
Yeah, that's actually what happened. Like, wait, what the fuck, guys? Like,
yeah,
it's just, well, cartoons don't exist, so that's why it happened. You're like, okay, sure, I guess.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in there. Like I remember I don't know how a child is supposed to understand the joke where he says, check the probate, and Roger's like, yeah, check, my Uncle Thumper had a problem with his probate. He'd take these big pills and drink lots of water, and he's like, not prostate, you idiot, probate. Like no child's gonna even understand the words probate and prostate to get the joke that they're doing.
That's a fantastic answer. Holy shit.
It's a very sophisticated movie. Yeah. I also, the only other one that I have on this list that I think kind of makes sense is I always have to admire The Princess Bride for the way that it can be watched by both adults and children on kind of different levels. I love it when movies can have I wish I had more examples in my head, but like I know there were a shitload of movies that I watched in the 80s that had like sex jokes that I didn't understand because I was a kid, right?
Oh, yeah, no, constantly. Even the 90s was like that too. There's a lot of cartoons and stuff and movies. Like every time I watched anything that happened, any of those cartoons from the 90s, like Powerpuff Girls, Dexter's Lab, hell, Johnny Bravo 100 times over. Like there's so many times where you're like, oh, I get what you were making fun of in these sequences and just like why these characters are as funny as they are. And because a lot of people were like, those creators really wanted to like push what you were thinking when it comes to what's going on in these situations. Like Rocco's Modern Life is a super fucked up cartoon when you really like think about what's going on in his life and like the weird shit that he has to encounter. And like that's fascinating to me, like how often that era of cartoons has stuff like that.
Yeah. Yep. And you know what? I think we're gonna call it a wrap. It's 11:15 in the evening. Michael and I have things that have to get done. We have answered some questions. We have gone over the news. We have talked. We have barely. I should have just reserved that last 20 minutes for Snyder Cut bitching. But you know what? We started with Snyder Cut bitching. We're going to end with Snyder Cut bitching. I actually, I can't even get into it. I can't start. If I start, I'll never stop. So mail@rageselect.com is the email address. Send in the reasons that you don't like the Snyder Cut or any other question or, story or whatnot. Like, we're not picky. We'll take whatever. And check out more from Michael over at oneofus.net. Michael, you did a review for the Snyder Cut on oneofus.net.
The Snyder Cut review should be posted by now, but there's a longer video version for subscribers as well. So there is there is a Snyder Cut to our Snyder Cut review.
Is it in 4:3 in black and white for no good reason?
Luckily, no, and it's also not in slow motion. But that's what we did. I also recorded a DuckTales one, but I don't know when that's going to be out soon.
Okay, fair enough. And that's it. We're done. Now, if you excuse me, I have to go back to complaining about the Snyder Cut to nobody because I'm just going to turn this off. I just never stop. I never stop complaining about the Snyder Cut.